industry would be especially hard hit. This proposed new carbon tax will without a doubt raise the cost of every input that I use to produce a crop and care for my livestock. Whether it's the fuels that are used to operate our equipment, irrigate our fields, or make the fertilizers, or the combines built in Grand Island and Omaha, or the irrigation systems built in McCook, Valley, Deschler, and Hastings, all in Nebraska. All will have this proposed carbon tax built into them. To think otherwise would be to deny every law of economics. In fact, Peter Orszag, President Obama's budget director, was quoted as saying, "Those price increases are essential to the success of a cap-and-trade program." It doesn't take a degree in economics to be able to see how this would tear through every segment of my industry and the American economy as a whole. Just think, the American farmer takes pride in the knowledge that they are providing the lowest cost, safest, and most reliable food, fiber, and fuel for the rest of the world. And this proposal will tax every aspect of it, both coming and going. How does this tax get the producer both coming and going? Well, the inputs coming in, I've given a few examples, but let's put it this way. If a farmer or ranch needs it, it is going to have a cap-and-trade tax built into it. On the other end, what will this new tax do to a producer's competitiveness? Ask yourselves, who's that farmer competing against? Is it Illinois and California? No, it's India and China. Just as it is for most businesses and industries that produce goods here in the United States. Here in Nebraska, I am part of the state's largest industry. As producers, we are price takers, not price setters. We buy our inputs at retail and sell our products at wholesale. Under cap and trade, our products, now with higher costs of production, make their way up through the processing and manufacturing chain. Each step towards that final product, adding to it its own share of the carbon tax. End result is a finished product that is no longer competitive in the global marketplace. With this carbon tax as part of economic policy, the only thing that we will be exporting is jobs. Without the Indias and Chinas playing by the same rules, I am at a disadvantage in the world marketplace. The risks and the cost of the entire American economy far outweigh the benefit of a 4% reduction in global greenhouse gas emissions that could be attained. With all these added expenses proposed for the ag industry, both directly and indirectly, one has to wonder, what are my options? What are my alternatives? If there was a better, or at least equal, alternative to producing food for the world, fiber, and fuel that it needs, the American farmer would already be doing it. The American farmer has always readily embraced new technologies. Today, many of the tractors, combines, and sprayers that you see in the fields use global positioning systems. They even steer themselves. The last time that I checked, however, John Deere does not offer a plug-in hybrid tractor. But if they did, the electricity used to power it would more than likely come from a coal-fired power plant. Point being, this cap-and-trade carbon tax legislation taxes a perceived problem without offering an economically viable alternative. Cap-and-trade offers only one option: pay the tax. One way or another, pay the tax. Please join me in making our voices heard in Washington. Let Washington know that we oppose this new tax. Thank you. Go Big Red.
Thank you, Ron. Our next speaker today will be George Mills. George is a small businessman, a former Douglas County Commissioner, and a former Husker football player. Welcome to Go Big Red again.
Well, I'll keep mine short. Everybody's seemed to have touched on all the important points for this program. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm married, I have 3 boys, I live up in Omaha, and I'm a real estate broker. And the thing, if you had any idea how hard it was to sell a house, and so, and it's all based on, positive emotion by the, buyer or seller. They have to feel good about the economy. And every time something bad happens, they sit on the sidelines. So you raise gas prices, people are going to be sitting on the sidelines. And it's already tough enough to make a sale. My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and I've got 2 in college, and one of them goes, my third one goes to Creighton Prep. So, the issue as it pertains to Nebraska has been enumerated, and we all know about that, but I'm looking at, you know, kind of like the global economy. I'm looking at the future for my kids, how they're going to be able to get jobs and be a part of the global economy with companies. My oldest son's studying engineering. My second one wants to be an attorney. So I'm no economist, but I know something about competition, being a Husker. I'll tell you a funny story. And it's kind of similar to the situation we're in. I mean, the administration wants us to go out and compete in this global economy and just assumes we're going to go out there and be #1. But I remember, reminds me of a time when I was at Nebraska. I was a sophomore and I backed up John Dutton. He was an All-American. You probably remember him. And so I backed him up all year. He was the first-round draft choice. So I went into that spring thinking, man, I'm a black shirt, I'm going to start, this is great. Well, I didn't know about this freshman guy coming up. His name was Mike Foltz. He was 6'5", 275. He was just an animal. And so anyway, he had the star career, and I kind of was relegated to you know, sideline duty, you know, most of the time. But it's the same situation with our country trying to compete in a global economy. I mean, we're going to go up against China, and if you've read anything, this guy named Friedman wrote a book about the world is flat and talked about all the emerging markets in China and India and the Soviet Union. And so it's a very, you know, going to be a very competitive world. And so if low-cost labor is analogous to the run, and low-cost energy is analogous to the past, you want to have a balanced attack when you go into this, you know, competitive situation with China. Well, this cap and trade bill is like the coach coming down and telling us on game day, you can't use the pass. You know, you can't use the pass. And so we all know what happens when a team becomes one-dimensional here in Nebraska. We all know about that. So anyway, my point is, I agree with what's been said, and we just need to contact our senators and you know, make our point, and hopefully this will all work out. Thank you.